So okay, so our today's content is we are going to discuss on analysis office, like how to use analysis office in our day-to-day reporting environment. Okay, so before going to explain on the analysis office, I will try to first. What happened? Okay. So now I am on BW on HANA system. Okay. So for our example today, because I need one query to explain the all the options in analysis office. So for that reason, I am taking one multi-provider. Okay. So currently in this multi-provider, we have some data. This is a very small multi-provider which contains a very few number of characteristics. Okay, and key figures. And let me see what data it contains currently. So this is a very small set of data, but this is enough, okay, to learn our analysis office completely. Also this particular thing is enough, it is okay. Now let's move to analysis office. So let me close this one first. So when you go to start menu, if you type analysis office, ours is analysis for Microsoft Excel. So this was the software we need to install before working on this product. Once we installed analysis office, what will happen on our Excel sheet, on our existing Excel sheet itself, one tab will be opened. Means if you in your system, if you already have one opened Excel sheet, and when you try to click on this analysis for office, then it won't open any new Excel sheet to you. What will happen in the existing Excel sheet itself, you may find two extra tabs. Okay, analysis is one tab, analysis design is another tab, and sometimes both are will be merged on a single tab also. Okay, it may be in such way also. So this is the tab where we work with analysis for Microsoft Excel for all the options. Now, so I have a query in my system. Just a second. Okay. Um, 1 minute. So this is BW on HANA. So what I did, whatever I opened on RS7, the same thing I opened from my HANA Studio also. Okay. So when I open from my HANA Studio and when I open my multi-provider, I can see there are 3 queries already available on my multi-provider. So now for today's testing purpose, okay, to learn this, reporting on AO, I am taking this particular query as an example, ZNO EMPM Q002. Okay, so let me take this query. So now my requirement is I want to open this query on my analysis office. Okay, so I already opened my Excel and enabled my analysis office plugin. Now important point is, you see where is my cursor. Currently I selected on H7. Okay, but before you open the query, try to keep your cursor on A1, because when you open your report on analysis for office, what will happen initially, it will the report output display will start from where your cursor is placed on. Okay, if I place my cursor on A1 and try to open my report, it will display from A1, and if I keep my cursor here and open, then the report output will start displaying from here. Okay, I will show you both the scenarios for your understanding. So now I kept my cursor on A1 box, and then I went to insert data source. Insert data source, then select data source for analysis. So you may have 2 more options, but first we need to select the selected data source for analysis. When we click on this screen, so what will happen, it will it will come, you may get this kind of prompt. Okay, so mainly if you are trying to open query from BO, then this is required. But if you want to open a query which is designed on BEX on or on SAP BW side, then you can skip this option. Then what will happen, then it will take to this window, select a data source. So what is this window? this window is nothing but our SAP GUI window. Okay, so whatever connections you have already configured on your SAP GUI, same kind of connections you can see on this window also. So now I am connect. Now I have to connect to my BW server. So I am selecting my BW system. If you have dev, production, and your test systems, you can select whatever connection you want. So I am selecting my BW system and clicking on next. Then this will prompt for the client user ID and password. Okay, so I'm giving my client and user ID. I'm giving my password now. So once you provided connection, sometimes it may ask like this, trust certificate. So now this is the selection screen. From here, I need to select my query. In this analysis office, we can do query not only on our queries, means on not only on our reports, but we can bring data from our info providers also. So this option we will explore later, but as of now, I am bringing my query. So now next thing. So if you don't know your query technical name, but if you know your path where your multi-provider is, then you can go to area section where it displays all your info areas drilled on. Like from in RS7 how you can see it, in the same way it will show all your info areas tree. You see these are all info areas. Now from here you can navigate to your info area and select whatever So for example here, and then here this is my multi-provider, and here I may have one query like this. But it is a little bit difficult way going throughout the path. So in general what we do in our real-time environment, we know already our query technical name. So simply go to search and select this query box. This will help you to reduce the search time, and go to search for, provide your technical name. So what is my technical name of my query? My technical name of my query is this one. I am copying it, I am giving here, and then click on search box or simply press enter. Okay, you see SAP searches for this technical name, and you can search with the description also. And you see here you have option also. If you are searching with the description, you can select description, and if you are searching with technical name, you can give this one. And if you are giving like if you give all anything, it will search on both places. Okay, just to save the time you can select this, or else this is also fine. Okay, now I am selecting my query and clicking on OK. Now what will happen? Now this is the initial selection screen of my query. If you see the design of my query, in my filter screen, I have one global variable. Okay, and this is having some variables here, selection screen. So I am getting that selection screen here. So I am giving here 3rd month of 2022 as my selection input to my query, and clicking on OK. So simply I'm providing selection to my query, and then I'm getting my output. So this is the default output of my query. So if I see my in my analysis for office, you see here in the sheet definition, in the row section, I have month and employee ID. On the key figure section, I have salary and working days. So that same layout you can see month and employee ID on the rows, salary and working days on the columns. So this was the default report output what I am seeing here. Okay, so as I told you, right, when you are opening the query, it will come from where you are exactly selected. So I quickly show you that option also. I am going to sheet 3. In analysis office, what was the advantage we have is, in the same Excel sheet, you can create a number of sheets and open queries again and again on the same sheet, on the same Excel workbook. Okay, so I am creating a new sheet and I am trying to open the same query one more time, second time. Okay, so now again I am going to insert data source. Now you see on the history path, it will show you what is the your last opened query. All the queries it will show here. If you want to select from here, then you can select from here, or if you want to select again from the search button, then again you can go to select data source for analysis. Okay, and when you select on the query, you see here we are getting some hint, the technical name, because here when I go to drop down, here I can see employee data, which is text of my query. But 2-3 queries may have same text, so you may get confused. So for that reason, when you put cursor on your query name, here it is showing technical name of the query, and the connection also. For example, this query will be there in development, quality, production. So here the system explains you from which source it is opening, whether it is a development system or a test system or a production system. So now I am selecting this one. So I am getting my selection screen. I am clicking on OK button. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I forgot about it. So I have to keep my cursor somewhere else, right? Let me reopen. So I'm keeping my cursor on F7 and trying to reopen this query. You see, since I have kept my cursor on F7, my query display starts from F7. From here, it will start populating it as per the definition. Okay. So this is first part. So going to the second part. Okay. So once my query got displayed, what will happen on the right hand side? You will see this analysis tab. Sometimes you may not see this. Let's close this one. See, on the right hand side, nothing is there. Now in such case, what you need to do, just select your query, go to display here, display, and then display design panel. If you click on this display design panel, now on the right hand side, you will get this design panel. In the design panel, you have multiple sections are there. Okay. And you see show property view is there, right? So this is called property view. Sometimes on your system, maybe this will be off. In that case, you will see only the analysis design tab where you have only the data source fields, columns, rows, and background filter. Okay, I will tell about the property view in few minutes. Okay, so let's learn about this tab first. So what is this tab? On the column section, it is telling what are my current existing key figures available here. So salary and working days are the current existing two columns on my column section. On the row section, you are seeing calendar year or month and employee ID. Okay. So now next. So whatever calendar year or month I am seeing here, or whatever employee ID I am seeing here, is it key or a key or a text one? Because sometimes text also may looks like key. So if you want to understand, is it displaying only key or text or key and text? If you need such information, by from where you can get that information, from the properties tab you will get that information. So for that, what you need to do, you have to enable the show property view or tab also. Then what will happen, whenever you select any characteristic on the property section, you can see currently it is displaying key part of my employee ID. If you want to change it to text, then you can simply changing it to text. You see now my employee ID got changed from key to text. In general query, browser, when you open queries on browser mode, this will be little hectic. Like we need to go to right click and change so many options we need to select. But in analysis office, it is so flexible. Simply select the column, go to property section, do whatever change you want, key and key and text. Not only from here, we have other place also. You see on the menu bar under analysis tab, you see member section. From here also you can change it. Okay, text and key, sorry, key and text. Okay, only key. From here also you can check. So by selecting your employee ID column here, you can change from here, or by going to analysis, design panel and selecting your respective row and change from the properties view. Both places we have this option. Okay, and what is next? So here in this particular query, there are no result rows enabled. Okay, if you want to enable result rows for employee ID, so what you can do, so go to this employee, select on this employee ID column on your row section, and here you see on the property section, currently we hide in the hidden the row, hidden the totals. Okay, and whenever you select show totals, automatically on your report totals will be displayed. Okay, in this way you can turn off and turn on the totals as per your requirement. If you want to enable for calendar year or month, simply select on show totals. So like this you can get to know totals already enabled or hidden, something like this. Okay, so from properties view, you have to you have an option to change between key and text. You have an option to disable and show the totals. Okay, and sorting order also. If you want to sort your column, you can do it. Generally we don't go for this option. Mostly in real time, either we use display key and totals key. okay, when we do the analysis on our queries. This is about rows and the property section. Okay, on the coming to the measure section, in real time what will happen? In real time we may create multiple KPIs, we may have multiple KPIs on our key section, but on the initial display we enable only few KPIs, and few KPIs we will be disabled. For example, let's see, working days is there. Okay, I am currently working days is default display. Now what I am doing is I am changing this property to hide can be shown. Hide can be shown. Now what is this meaning means, when you execute the report on the first time on your screen, this particular key figure doesn't comes on your screen. Okay, so when, but you have an option to enable this key figure as per your requirement. So let's see. So whenever you do such kind of changes on the backend query, your analysis office, you cannot analysis office will not refresh automatically your query with the changes. Whenever you perform some changes on your query, you have to reopen the query to get those apply on your query. So I am selecting sheet 5 and I am rebringing my query into my sheet. Okay, now you see as a default display, now you have only salary coming here, but there is already one more KPI available on my query, but it is not displaying. Now if you want to display such key figure here, so how you can bring those? Go to the column section, select the measure, right click here, filter by member, and from there you can see all the available key figures on your report. So if you have any hidden key figures which you can see, those can be available under by clicking on the filter section of your key figures. Okay, by enabling this working days, now I can get that KPI also into my report. Okay, in this is a second point, yeah, next point on the measure section. Now, so now if you see here, the current default decimals that are showing for my KPI is 2. So if I click on salary, you see there is no decimal places, it is default. If you want to enable, if you want to increase decimal places or decrease decimal places, you can do it from here also. Okay, you see by changing here the decimal places, it is changing to it. But generally we don't need this kind of analysis on our real time, but here you can have such option. If you are in your report, if you are seeing too many decimals and if you want to change it, actually when we may need this one is yeah, I will let you know in coming after some time. Okay, so this is how you can change decimal places on your measures. So what else, what are the different other options we have on the key figure section? So another one is scaling factor. So if some scaling factor was applied on your query, then you can automatically can see that scaling factor on your query properties here on your key figure properties. If nothing was applied on your key figure, then you see default. Now what will happen, for example, on this salary, if I want to apply some scaling factor on my report side, then I can simply, by 100, what will happen? 60,000 by 100, 600 is coming here. Okay, so whenever your KPI means your key figures is having very too big value to read, then in such cases generally what we do is we apply some scaling factor to minimize the number so that it will be more in a readable format, and we can yeah, that's it I can say about it. So these are the two important properties what we have for each KPI in our column section. Okay, and we already seen what are the different options we have for the row section also. So now we seen till now the formatting options. Now next what we are going to see is the filtering options. Okay, so currently I want to know what selection I given to my query. After some time you may sometime need to know, okay, what is my query selection I given, you may forget. So if you want to know it one more time, you can see it from two places. Okay, by going to this prompt button, or if you want to change your selection to a different selection, in both cases what you can do, select anywhere on your query. You see, if you select, if you keep your cursor away from your report selection window, see this is my report section as of now, because report display starts from here and ends here. this area is only reporting area. If you keep your cursor or select any box out of your reporting area, you see all the options got disabled here. But when you go again into your reporting area, you see options are enabling again. You see measures and totals got disabled here, and when I again go to my reporting section, it was enabled. So that's why it is important, if you want to perform any action on your query, your cursor must be within the reporting area. Okay. So now I want to select my prompts. I want to change my prompt selection. Okay. So in such case, what you can do, just keep your cursor anywhere on your reporting window and go to prompt section and select prompts for data source. Okay. Prompts for workbook, prompts for data source. There is a difference between these two. So as of now, let's go for prompts for data source. Data source means this is one data source to the Excel sheet. Okay, in sheet 5 I opened this query. So this query acts as one data source. Okay, so go to prompts for data source. Now this is the existing prompt on my data source. Now I am changing this prompt to 3/2022 January, March. Click on OK. Now you see my data was reduced again. I think let me change it to February instead of March. Go to prompts for data source. Let's change it to February. So currently I am seeing data till March month. When I change it to February month, click on OK. You see only Jan and February, March data is Jan and February data. Only January and February data displaying on my query output. Okay, so this is how either you can see what is the current selection on your query, or if you want to change the selection to your query, this way we can do it. So next, what is this filter section? For example, when you see data like this, if you want to apply filter on any one employee ID, so generally, yeah, we have an option. Right click on it, filter members. If you click on filter members, what will happen? Automatically each relevant filter will be applied on your query. Means it's applying already whatever you selected, it is applying on your employee ID column. Okay, I'm going to undo. Okay, but if you don't, you want to select out of these many employee IDs, if you want to select multiple entries, you can do it. Right click here, filter by member. This is the option you need to go. Then it will display all the current existing employee IDs on your column, and you can select whichever you want and click on OK. Then that particular filter will be applied on your screen. Okay, and now for example, you want to know on this whatever filter you applied on this employee ID, you can identify from the design panel. You see on the employee ID, you are seeing this filter icon. So it means there is a filter you applied manually on this employee ID. On calendar month it is not displaying. Why? Because there is no filter applied. Okay, on which column you applied filter, this filter icon will help you to identify. Okay, you applied a local filter on this employee ID, something like that. Okay, and from whatever you do from here, the same can be done from here also. Right click here, filter by member. Okay, filter by member, and select all and click on OK. You see filter ID, filter icon gone because we selected all the column, all the data from the employee ID. Now right click here, filter by member, again it will come. Okay, so either we have such option here also and here also, in both places. Now next, so what next? In the same way you can apply filter on any of your column. And next thing is, what is this column? So far we are seen about measures and columns, but what is this section? This section is nothing but the combination of key figures, rows and free characteristics. So all the fields whatever you are having on your query will be shown under this data source section. Okay, so this your query is nothing but one data source, and in this data source you have all these fields, and all the measures, all the key figures will be grouped into this measure section. Okay, and you see in out of these fields, few are highlighted with bold color and a few are normally shown. So bolds are nothing but these are already available on your row section or on the report layout. Bold represents these are already available on your report layout, and other which are normal, those are telling that these are not yet visible on your report. And if you want to do analysis on any other field, for example I want to bring uh, currency into my report layout. So how can I bring? Simply by dragging and dropping into row section, this column will be added. You see now currency added to my row section. So not always on the end. If you want to remove it, simply drag and drop to your data source section. Yeah, it's gone. It's gone from the report layout. And every time no need to keep at the end only. You can keep wherever you want. For example, in between I want currency. You see currency came in between. So it gives a very flexibility where you want to add it. Okay, and since we added currency also to the report layout, now it is showing displaying in bold format. Okay, this is one point. So 1 minute. Next thing is, in general, in the report layout, we may have very huge number of fields. Not like this on the row section itself. You sometimes few reports may have around 10 to 20 rows will be there. Okay, and sometimes you don't need to, you don't want to see all the rows on your report layout when you are performing analysis with respect to one or two fields. Okay, so in that case, what we can do? We can simply remove the fields from the report layout. So all those whatever you are removing from the row section will be already available on your data source section. No need to bother. Those will be again available on your data source section. Whenever you need, you can again bring them back into your row section. Okay. And next, so if you have 15 fields like this, no need to remove one by one. You can do the same by selecting multiple rows and delete everything at one shot also. This option also system uh, in the system we have. So like this. So you can drag, you can remove any point of time, you can add to your report any point of time. Okay. So now till now we've seen these columns and rows, but background filters I didn't see it. Okay. So what is background filter? Generally, you see, when I'm if I want to filter, if I want to filter on employee ID, either I am doing from my report layout, or either I am doing from my report layout by filter members or filter by member, or I am doing from here. So what is background filter? So generally what will happen, we always see our report on aggregated level. Whenever we try to add material, customer, like document number, such kind of granular things to our report, you can see our report will come automatically, a huge data set will come to report, and which kills our performance. Okay, you don't want to see any field on the report layout, but you want to apply some filters, then those filters will comes under background filter. So I will show you simply here. So I am removing employee ID from my rows. Okay, I know in my employee ID I have 4 to 5 employee IDs are there. So without bringing this field into my row section, I want to apply filter on my employee ID. In such cases, what we do, right click on employee ID, add to filter by member, add to filter by member, and then select whatever employees you need and click on OK. In such case, what will happen? Add to filter by member means this particular will be added to the background filter, and it was applied. Now whatever data I am getting here is nothing but the employee 1 and employee 4 data. After applying filter, anytime if you want to see what data here, simply drag and drop to row section. You can see 1 and 4 only employees. So you can keep it here. You can keep to so only whichever fields you applied. Mm, okay, fine. So yeah, you can drag and drop in between these two. Okay. After applying filter, if you don't want to see that field on your report layout, simply bring back to background filter. If you bring this to right hand side, what will happen? And bring it back again, you see filter gone. Okay, so it's important to understand, if you after applying filter, and if you want to preserve the filter, and if you don't want to see this field on the report layout, then bring to the background filter. Even if you bring this to data source section, what will happen? The filter will be removed, and again you are getting all data. Okay, so just be aware of that point here. That's why we have background filter section here. So next point. What next? We discussed about column section, we discussed about row section, we discussed about properties, we discussed about background filter section, and we discussed about this data source fields information. And next, okay, now we are going to talk about attributes. Employee ID is a master data. Employee ID is a master data, and the master data contains attributes, right? Nothing but attributes. If you want to drill down your column with respect to attributes, simply you can bring you can do it. So country is one of the attribute of my employee ID. So I can bring country into my row section. I brought country into my row section, but it won't show as a new column here, new row here, new column here. Okay, na? Because country is an attribute to employee ID, it will be displayed under employee. You see now employee ID on the report layout. I can see my country information also. Okay, let me bring all employees. You see country is there. So if you remove at any point of time, if you remove the main employee field, then automatically the country also will be gone, because country is an attribute to the employee ID. Okay, so if you want to see, you can see both, or if you want to see, if you can, if anytime if you want to remove, right click here, remove, then attribute will be removed. So it's a very easy for you to do reporting on analysis office. This kind of operations will makes brings very easiness into the reporting part. Okay, now so we discussed about summation also, how to enable totals to each column also we seen. So next we are going to, so next time what I'm going to tell is data source concept. What I said, whenever you are bringing a report into your Excel sheet, then system consider this particular report as one data source. Okay, so I brought this report into sheet 1 and sheet 3, sheet 4, sheet 5. Now each copy of this report is nothing but one data source. So how I get to know these data sources? If you go to this components tab, you see each data source ds1, ds2, ds3, ds4. Okay, and if you expand this one, this data source is under cross tab 1, nothing but sheet 1, and this data source is under cross tab 2 and nothing but sheet 2. And if I select double click on it now, yeah, so multiple sheets like this, so we have it. Okay, for example, now I am deleting my sheet 5 because I have same report on multiple places. What I am simply doing is I am deleting my sheet 5. So when I delete my sheet 5, you see what happened? This whatever plus symbols is there, for this it is gone. It means cross tab was deleted, but not the data source. Still, this Excel sheet is holding this data source information. Okay, this is still, whenever you brought multiple reports into or same report multiple times into your query, based upon the data set, your query workbook will become heavy. Means it is loaded with some data, right? So your query workbook will be loaded heavy, and it will take time for any refresh or any operations. So so for that reason, what we do, unnecessary sheets I'm trying to delete. But what's happening when I'm trying to delete my sheet? It's deleting my sheet, but it's not deleting my data source. Okay, still this particular Excel sheet is having information of this data source. In such cases, right click on the data source, delete. This makes your workbook a little bit free with memory. So your workbook will work more faster way if you delete unnecessary workbooks from your data sources from your Excel sheet. So this is some advanced concept what I am saying. If you don't know about this also, no problem. Okay, leave it. This is not too much important as at this point of time. Okay, now what next we are going to learn. Yeah, so what next we are going to learn is information tab. Okay, because in BW we know that we know that there are some authorizations applied on each and every query. Okay, so in general, if you open let me show you this. If you open any query from RSRT, there we have one query properties window where you can see query technical name, all the information. So in analysis office, where we can see such kind of information. In analysis office, if you want to see such kind of information, you need to go to this information tab. Okay, information tab. In the information tab, under this information in 1 second, under this information section, you can see the query technical name, query from which info provider, and query name, and who created it, and from which system this particular query currently opened, and logged on user. All this information you can see on this information window. And next, on the top window, data source name, key date, and the last data refresh. Okay, last data updated on March 14th. So this information you can see in the information section. And what I said, on our Bex queries, we may have some authorization fields which will be applied when user executes the query. Correct? For developers, we have all authorizations. So in general, we don't get any authorization applied on our query
It's
in
clear.
real time. Yes.
Last date update, what is that? Like, is it the report update, last refresh, or
It is with last data refresh. For example, what happen is on weekends, if there is no data coming, if no data loads are happening, what will happen is when you open this report on Monday, it will show the last data refresh happen on Friday. Okay, so it is the last whenever this particular whatever provider you are seeing was updated with the information. Okay, so March 14th, right? So if I go to my SAP GUI and open my DSO, let me see when my last request. You see, my last request was done on March 14th. The same I am seeing here. So when is your last request loaded on your provider? Okay, so
what
that
is the
information is,
key date?
key date is nothing but today's date, April 9th.
Oh,
Yeah, today's mostly key date will be today's date. Hmm. So, just a second. So next point. So filters. So in whatever we applied filters on the prompt section, those filters will be displayed here. And if any background static filters, authorization filters are there, then those also we can see under this variable, under this filter section. If any authorization relevant filters applied, we can find from those. What will happen sometimes? User will say, raise a ticket saying that I am not able to see the data on the query. But when you open the query, you are able to see the data. So in such case, what is the problem here? User may have some authorization. That's why he is not able to see the data. If you want to confirm such kind of scenarios, you can ask user to go to information tab and check here the filter section. So basically, if you both having same filter, then you need to think of what else is mostly, in such scenarios, he may have some extra filters applied on his query based upon authorization. Okay, important point which you can resolve the ticket quickly. No need to do the analysis. High level answer you can finish it. So next point, this way done. This is done, and then again to analysis. So now I am going to show some other interesting, things here. So what next? Yeah, what next is, so in this particular analysis office, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply filter on my employee ID. Okay, right click, filter by member. I'm applying filter on E1 E04, and I want to see my summation. If I want to see totals of my employee ID, show enable totals, or okay, not on this one, enable totals on month, so that I will get it here. If you want to see these totals on the top instead of at the bottom, sometimes users wish to see totals on the top. In such case, you have this option, go to totals, show totals on above members. This will shift the totals from bottom to the top. Okay, This is one of the simple option, what we can do. By disabling this, automatically it comes to the bottom of it. Next option. Next option is, now you have this query where you already applied so many filters. Let's say, because this is a simple query, I am always applying filters on employee ID. Okay, now you have this copy, or else, yeah, you have this copy. Now what you want to do is, you want to create one more query. You can open, multiple times on the same sheet. Instead of going to new sheet, if you want to open one more query on this sheet, you can simply open here, not a big deal. Okay, you can do that one also. Now what I am going to show is how to copy the existing query into a new query. It is a query means, we are not copying report, query output. Okay, select, keep your cursor on the query output. Now go to analysis design. Here there is one called smart copy. Okay, smart copy. By selecting the smart copy and select somewhere on your screen and click on smart paste. So what will happen is, exactly you are copying query in the same format. And you can change the, yeah, it will ask for prompt. If you want to change, you can change the prompt also. Here I'm giving 2. Click on OK. You see, same kind of filters applied on this query also, but you selected the query for different selection. Okay, so instead of going to query again and from initial screen you are applying again all the filters, it is saving a lot of time. Once you applied your filters on one query and you need another query for the same selection for a different prompts, then simply by doing smart copy and smart paste, you can change the selection screen, and you can see the output in this way. Whatever even is zero for filters applied on my initial report, same kind of filters are applied again on my copied query also. Okay, now this is separate query, now this is a separate query. Okay, now for example, now I can play on this query separately. Right click here, remove filters, and select all members. You see, I can play individually on this query, and this query will be like this only. So if you want to compare two queries or with different selections, or if you want to do some math on the two copies of the query, you can do in this way. Okay, so this is one point. What else? What else we can learn here? One more interesting thing here is, okay, remember, this my DSO contains very less amount of data. So that's the reason, if I remove a field, if I add a field, it doesn't matter at all. Okay, system will refresh it a very fraction of seconds. But what in the real time behavior? In the real time behavior, our queries will fetch lot amount of data. If you remove one field from the query, it takes some time to refresh. If you add something to the query, if you apply some extra filters to the query, every time it will take some time. Correct? So how to handle this? Every time you do one operation, system will take time to refresh for each and every step. Now to reduce this pain of refreshing, SAP given one option called pause refresh. Okay, so what it is means, now select your query, click on pause refresh. You see, now it was enabled. Now what I am going to do, I am removing my employee ID. You see, query doesn't change until unless you remove the pause. Query doesn't refresh at all. Okay, I am removing my key figure from key measures. I am selecting only one member. Okay, and I am bringing controlling area into rows. Okay, and currency also into rows. So I performed all my required operations. Then simply enable again, disable the pause refresh. You see, now my query was refreshed with all the changes at one time. It saves actually some refresh time. Okay, it won't save too much time, but I can say, but at least every time say query refresh will stop and you can perform all your operations on it, and finally you can disable the pause refresh, which gives you the expected output format. Okay, this is one of the cool feature what we have on the analysis for office. Okay, now if you want to copy this query, do smart copy and then do smart paste here. Now I am going to show you one more option here. Now this is my one query output, and this is my one query output. Okay, now on my first query, this query, I am removing filter. Okay, what I will do, I remove control area, I remove currency, and I will keep employee ID. Now what happened? You see, there is a you see in the left side bottom, component cross tab 3 overlaps with another component. So the query overlap happened here. Okay, query overlap happened here. In such cases, what will happen is what you can do, just right click here, do some cut, I guess. Right click here, insert cut cells. You see, by doing this way, you are since you are inserting some cells in between, automatically this query was refreshed with latest information, and this one came came below. Sometimes some overlap may happen whenever you are doing with multiple queries on single sheet comparisons and all. When you change some characteristics, some query layout, query overlap may happen. If it happen, you no need to delete something, you no need to go panic. Simply by adding rows in between, it will be handled. Okay, no need of panic here. Next, in general, we have one more property. General property is on the query general screen. There is an active rows display. Active. No, no, not this one. Zero suppression on rows and columns. You have the same option. Yeah. When you click on the employee data, when you click on this data source, you will get the properties of the data source. When you click on any column characteristic or key figure, you can see the corresponding properties. But when you click on this data source, then you see the query properties on your design panel. So zeros, suppress zeros in rows, suppress zeros in columns, you can apply here. Okay, important point is you will get the query level properties when you select the data source on your analysis. Okay. Yeah, that's what I can say here. And I explained about this smart copy, smart paste is one of the important thing. And next point is, now I am done with my query designing. I am logging off for today. Okay. Now what I can do, I simply click on save my workbook, save and browse, go to documents, and Evo sheet. I'm giving my query name and clicking on save. Close your Excel. I'm done. Okay, all my Excels are got closed. Now I'm going to my screen, going to my documents. I'm opening my AO sheet. You see, data was saved here. Data was saved here. When I click on anything, if I go to analysis tab, you see, is it coming? The design panel is not coming. If I go to show properties, show display design panel, if I click on design panel also, you see design panel was not refreshing at all when I click on this queries. Okay, why? Because these queries are there in my Excel sheet, but these queries are not connected with my BW server, I can say. Okay, that's the reason this analysis office is not able to fetch any information of these queries. Okay, so tomorrow when you again log in, again you no need to do all this one more time design and all. We have an option. What is that option? Select the query, go to refresh data source. By doing this refresh data source, system will connect again to the backend system. Okay, means be server. It is asking for the my password. Continue. Now system is trying to connect this query with my backend query server. You see, now all the rows came. Now what about this one? This one is still not connected. Okay, because how I can saying this one, here I have filter on these two, here I don't have filter. So it's not yet connected. So each and every report you have to refresh again manually, but again this take lot of time, right? So what we can do, simply click on refresh all. By clicking on refresh all, it will automatically refresh all my queries. Okay, automatically refresh all my queries and connects to the backend. So this way you are saving time. When you log into next day, no need to again select your queries and bring it to this format again. All the stuff no need required. And whenever users are doing some analysis and they found some issues on the query and they want to send it to you, simply they can save this Excel sheet. But the only point is they shouldn't change anything, extensions and default settings and all. Simply ask them to save it on the workbook. When we are saving these things now, go to save as, browse. We are saving it in under Excel workbook format only. No need to change any formats and all. Simply save as Excel workbook. Ask them to provide it to you, and once they give it to you, you can also refresh it. By refreshing it, it will connect to your backend system. Okay. Only thing is you must have access to your you AWS must be installed on your system, and you must have access to the corresponding server. Okay, if you both are there, then you can also refresh this query on your system. Simply on mail they can send this Excel book to you. Okay, so it's the easy part. Earlier we used to share workbooks, bookmarks of the query. Now simply by sharing this Excel sheet also, now we can able to see whatever issues they are facing. We can see the filters and everything we can see by refreshing the query. Yeah, so I explained most of the important points here. And what next? What next? What next? Mm, 1 second. I'm thinking what to say next. We have one extra feature. Maybe this may not, you may not use on your day-to-day, reporting. Users may use. Okay, it's a like it's a new feature. I can say. You have two columns. Okay, on these two columns you want to perform some operations. Okay, like your salary by working days you want to perform. Okay, and now you what you can do is we got a new one. Right click on the key on this one, go to new lines, column after working days. It will create a new column after working days. Okay, um, 1 second. I think no, not this one. Just do one undo. Right click here, add dynamic calculation. Add dynamic calculation. No, add advanced calculation. Dynamic. Add advanced calculation. Now here you can do you can add one extra column to your report. Insert member salary, insert mathematical function divided by insert member working days. It will do salary by working days and click on OK. You see a new column added to your query which is doing salary by working days, and this column now will refresh every time along with your query. For example, I am removing employee ID from my query to background layout. You see automatically this calculation also will happen according to these rows. Okay, to these columns. Okay, this is one extra column. If you want to remove it, right click here, delete. It will delete this column. But the normal columns you don't have delete option. You see whatever extra you created, those custom columns you may have an option to delete, but from whatever coming from report level, bex query level, you cannot delete those columns. Okay, this is one extra feature what you can see. So I hope I explained most of the things here. All the useful things, important things, everything I tried to explain. Okay. To my knowledge, I didn't miss anything. Navigation attribute section members. If you have any hierarchies here, you can see hierarchies also here. Simply by dragging hierarchies into your report, you can bring those hierarchies also. Okay, it's very easy. How we are bringing the attribute of a field, in the same way we can bring hierarchy of the field also. Okay. Background filters I explained, rows explained, properties explained, query properties explained, report pass, smart copy, view, and these are all not required. Condition formatting not required. And all the Excel level formulas, all you can expand, you can work on it. Okay, Excel level functionalities also you can use on your workbooks. Okay, and in the analysis tab, refresh all. Refresh no, no. Refresh data source. What is reset data source? What is reset data source? Reset data source means whatever filters you applied, whatever the reports you done to the existing, default display, simply click on reset data source, click on OK. You see, okay, in my sheet definition, working days was hidden. Here, hide can be shown. So, reset data source will bring our query into the default layout format, removing all the customizations we done so far to this query. Okay, applying filters, so on, so everything it will remove. Okay, that is called reset data source. Okay, prompt for data source, prompt for workbook. Workbook means you may have multiple queries on your workbook. If you want to merge all the prompts into single prompt and provide some selection, then you can go for prompts for workbook. You see, data source 1 prompt, data source 2 prompt, 3 prompt, 4 prompt. Everything will come on single screen, and accordingly what you given selection, each and every data source will be refreshed. Okay, that is about the difference between prompt for workbook and data. In general, in our day-to-day life, we always use prompts for data source only. Filter section, sorting section, hierarchies are based upon the hierarchy availability, members I explained, measures. Okay. One important point for the users. Okay, in general, in our query output, what happens? Only January 2 displays once, and it is displaying, not displaying anything. It means it is a repeated value. That's why, as a default default settings, it will be shown only once. But sometimes people who work with Excel's filters and all, they need repeated options here. In that scenario, you can go to measures. No, not measures. You can go to members. Not members also. One second. Where is it? This one. You can go to cross tab. You can go to analysis design, cross tab, repeat members. If you select this option, what will happen? Instead of showing the header once, it will repeat for all the rows. This, some users need this kind of property for applying filters at header level. Okay, so knowing this property is good to have. No, that's it. What I can say. And then what else? What else? That's it. That's it for today. Okay. I've explained most of all the uses of the analysis office. Any changes you done at a Bex query level, you need to reset your query, or close the workbook and reopen the workbook in order to refresh with the latest changes on your query. Okay, that's all. Now what I will do is I will stop presenting, and I will stop recording also.